Pernell says, when I showboat, it's the equivalent of a basketball player with a flashy dunk. I'm trying to intimidate the opposition.
Well, he's tried that behind-the-back punch before, and a scoring combination by Pernell Whitaker. Now, Greg Haugen covered up in the corner, but I don't believe he was hurt. We want to alert our ABC stations along the line that at the conclusion of this round, we're going to be taking a station break. And a solid left to the chin of Haugen.
Let me tell you something about Greg Haugen. He's not going to be intimidated by backhand punches, but he is going to be taken out of this fight by the kind of punching that Pernell Whitaker is doing. He has been to date.
A minute left in the 5th round here. Hampton, Virginia. Norfolk, right across the bay here, just is the home of Pernell Whitaker. And there's a look at Karen Haugen, imploring her husband, Greg. She's been around the fight game long enough to know that he's trailing in this fight.
Right now, the only question in this fight really is, will Whitaker run out of gas? I mean, if he can maintain this pace, we talked about it at the top, if he can maintain, if he has the toughness to keep up this pace, he's going to be a world champion.
And you saw the look on Greg Haugen's face, who felt that Pernell Whitaker hit him with another low blow. Coming to the end of the 5th round, this for the IBF Lightweight Championship. ABC's Wide World of Sports will continue after this word from our ABC station. This is the beginning of the 6th round. And on our scorecard, the first 5 rounds belong completely to Pernell Whitaker.
Yeah, I think the only round you can make the case for Haugen was the first, in which there wasn't really much to choose between the two of them. Again, Greg Haugen just laying on the ropes.
Well, I think you touched on it early, Alex. Clearly his strategy is that he's hoping that it becomes a question of stamina for Whitaker later on in this fight.
Yeah, but Greg Haugen's not an idiot. I mean, he can tell that strategy is just giving away too many rounds right now. I mean, if you're a big bomber, you can afford to give away early rounds and make it up with one punch in the late round. But Greg Haugen is not that much of a bomber. He did have one-punch knockouts early in his career, but since then, he's really been a distance kind of fighter.
Well, then tough to understand his strategy, unless it's just a... And there, a solid blow from Whitaker, and that is a knockdown.
A tremendous inside left-hand counter punch. Greg Haugen was jumping in. Pernell Whitaker timed it perfectly and got caught. First time he has ever been down as a pro or an amateur.
Haugen acting like it wasn't a knockdown. That's the only way I can interpret the look on his face. Doing his best to say that it didn't hurt me, but Al Rothenberg, the referee, gave him the standing 8.
The crowd here at Hampton Coliseum starting to chant, Pete, Pete, Pete. Pernell Whitaker's nickname is, nobody around here calls him Pernell, we do, but he's known here as Pete.
His nickname, Sweet Pea, actually came about by a group of his friends at the ringside one day, calling to him Sweet Pete. Sweet Pete in the media along Media Row alongside the ring thought they were saying Sweet Pea, and it stuck. I don't think any of his friends walk up and say, "Hi, Sweet Pea, how you doing?"
And I don't think Greg Haugen ever imagined that Pernell Whitaker could knock him down.
Everything being set up by the right jab. And another combination, and as Haugen tries to cover up, 2 left uppercuts from Pernell Whitaker split his gloves.
Back of the head.
Whitaker said he could fight on the inside with Greg Haugen. There, you just saw Haugen make Whitaker miss the first punch, but when he went to counter punch, Pernell was right on his chest. He didn't have the room to get off an effective counter punch. You see Greg jumping straight in again. Better watch himself and not get caught again with that little left-hand counter. Again, there it was.
The left hand, and Greg Haugen walks right into it. We're going to stay here between rounds. The bell sounds. That's the conclusion of round 6. We're halfway through a scheduled 12, and the crowd roars its approval for Pernell Whitaker.
You saw both men trying to posture and shake the other man's concentration. It's not going to happen. Watch for the left hand. Boom, right there. Perfectly timed. Right on the chin. Haugen tried to keep himself up, but just couldn't regain his balance. Another angle. Watch the left hand. Boom. And he tripped. You saw it on that angle. You saw that Haugen, in addition to the force of the blow, he did trip over Pernell Whitaker's right foot.
But you do have to agree with Al Rothenberg, the referee.
Absolutely.
He has to rule that a knockdown.
Absolutely.
Okay, get over there with those left hooks and those, work on his body this round. Work hard. Dig him hard in the body.
The voice of George Chimera is the trainer for Haugen.
Seconds out. Seconds out, please. Seconds out. Stay there, Pete. Stay there, Pete.
George Chimeras has to keep telling Greg what to do. The problem is, can Greg be effective in doing it? Can he put together, it's easy to say left hook, right hand. It's just very tough against someone as skilled as Pernell Whitaker has been, who's giving away as little as he's giving away, to put it into action in the ring.
Seems that everything that Greg Haugen has attempted to do, Pernell Whitaker has had an answer. A solid right. You can see the water fly from the head of Greg Haugen, and Pernell Whitaker in complete control of this fight.
The main thing is he's not letting Haugen get off. Greg is just not able to counterpunch. He's effectively taken that away from him. He just hasn't been able to find a way to get off. There are punching opportunities for Haugen, but Pernell is so quick that he's just not able to take advantage of them.
And if Haugen is hoping that Whitaker will fade in the latter rounds, I'm not sure that's going to happen. I looked at Whitaker over in his corner on his stool in between rounds, Alex, and he's not even breathing through his mouth.
And they're getting to the point, I mean, it's still relatively early in this fight. We're only in round 7. Again, you know, that just doesn't make sense. I mean, Greg Haugen just has to know by now he can't lay on the ropes and take that kind of punching, expect to win rounds.
And make no mistake of it, he's there intentionally. Whitaker's being aggressive, but when Haugen finds himself on the ropes, no attempt to get off.
The point I was trying to make, Dan, is we're getting to the point, even though it's early, where Haugen needs a knockout. He's going to need a knockout to win.
The right jab, getting in there consistently.
And you might have heard Lou Duva in Whitaker's corner saying, double it up, and he did.
Pernell Whitaker has scored on about 6 consecutive right jabs.
You see Haugen moving to the left there. You see him trying now. There's a little lateral movement from Pernell Whitaker. And you see Haugen trying to cut the ring off. He might be getting there, but he isn't letting his punches go when he does cut the ring off.
Well, one of the questions about Greg Haugen is his lack of what you would call sensational lateral movement. That's hurting him now as Pernell Whitaker scores on 4 blows.
You know, Lou Duva, that's the first time I've ever seen Lou Duva for a consecutive 10 seconds with nothing to say. Whitaker's doing everything right.
We may replay that later.
Body punch, and those were clean body punches. Those were above the belt. Very difficult when both men are bent over like that to get home legal blows, but Whitaker did it. And he did it again just there.
The maturation of Pernell Whitaker continues. 7 solid rounds. The opening seconds of the 8th round. This the IBF Lightweight Championship, and Al Rothenberg calls a timeout, looking at the left glove and the way it's taped on of Greg Haugen.
There was a controversy in the dressing rooms before this fight having to do with the taping on Pernell Whitaker's glove. They made him re-glove after Keith Clevin, one of Greg Haugen's seconds, protested the way that Pernell Whitaker's glove had been put on, but they did that, and there was, again, Pernell Whitaker just says...
Time again.
It's still loose.
The reason Pernell pointed it out is he's in danger. It's not Greg Haugen. If that tape flicks in Pernell Whitaker's eye, it could temporarily lose the sight of one eye and be a real big problem for him. That's why he's not going to let Haugen come out with it.
Not to mention visually the distraction it causes. It takes your eye off of what's happening.
I think these two guys are concentrating so much, you know, there could be a whole roll of tape thrown into the ring and they wouldn't notice.
This is the 8th round of this IBF Lightweight Championship fight. Greg Haugen in the black trunks. The defending champion, the #1 challenger in the blue, is Pernell Whitaker. And this fight's taking place here at the Hampton Coliseum in Hampton, Virginia. Norfolk, Virginia is the hometown of Pernell Whitaker, and he has dominated this fight. On our unofficial scorecard, he's won all 7 rounds. With action like that,
you see, that's just inexplicable. That just isn't Greg Haugen. How can he stand there and take 7 punches and not let anything come back? I can understand him getting hit. He even said yesterday, I know I'm going to get hit. I'm not going to fight a fighter as good as Whitaker and not get hit. But he's let himself be taken out of this fight. And the question you have to ask is, it can't be all Whitaker's quickness. It can't be all Whitaker's left-handed stance. I think right about now, you have to say that Greg Haugen, who weighed in at 134 pounds for this fight, told us he came down from 155 pounds. He may just have been a lightweight too long. He just may be dead at the weight. He made the weight very carefully. I mean, he didn't lose it all the day of the fight. Again, just posing, just target practice for Whitaker. I was saying that Haugen didn't lose it all at the last minute. He wasn't depleted from a rush to make weight, but he just seems dead.
Look how alertly Pernell Whitaker avoided being run into the ropes by Greg Haugen. And a good look there at how Haugen got his feet tangled up. The problems in fighting a southpaw. Both fighters with their lead feet stepping on one another.
Well, it's a problem for a southpaw as well. I mean, he's used to, if he fought actually, the reason it's not a problem for left-handers, he's used to fighting right-handers. He's used to having trouble with his right foot.
During the course of the fight, take a look at the lead feet of both of these men and how often they step on one another. Pernell Whitaker, as Alex said, always fighting right-handers, used to that. And that solid left scores, rocks the head of Greg Haugen, whose face and cheek area is starting to swell considerably. And another left. And Greg Haugen right now looking anything but like the champion.
He looks like a punching bag, and they should just put Everlast on him and let Whitaker punch. I mean, again, that time Haugen complaining about Whitaker's head.
Watch your head, that's the last time.
And Rothenberg warned Haugen. Told him it was the last time.
The 8th round is coming to a close.
Watch your head.
This championship bout scheduled for 12. Very difficult to look at 2 corners in between rounds and see them as diverse as the Haugen and Whitaker corners. Greg Haugen looking very much like a man who's been in a war, and Pernell Whitaker looked like he was reading the Saturday afternoon newspaper over in his corner, Alex Wallow.
Totally composed, totally fixed on his purpose. Didn't even seem to acknowledge what George Benton, I'm sure he was listening, but just seemed just totally fixed on the man across the ring from him.
Pernell Whitaker in the blue trunks, the #1 ranked contender by all 3 sanctioning bodies. Julio Cesar Chavez, the WBA, WBC lightweight champion.
There again, you see Haugen cut the ring off. He moved to his left. He beat Whitaker to the spot and moved with it. He didn't let his hands go. He didn't punch. Can't keep your title if you don't let your hands go.
Another solid left from Pernell Whitaker, who lets Haugen come in, lead with that head, and then takes advantage of it, scoring repeatedly.